Alright everybody, welcome back to the moth-hawk project. And today we are joined by Dane, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Dane is literally watching me how to draw, and I'm explaining things to him in Dutch sometimes, so don't worry about if you hear some Dutch language in there, because, you know, it's sometimes a little bit hard to explain in English. Duh. So, yeah. As you can see, we started the stream then, and you can already see that, you know, the stream is looking there up, but there is a delay. So no worries there, no pressure. There is nothing going on that is gonna be weird, unless YouTube likes to be going weird. So today we're gonna be trying to get we're gonna add it the tree. We're gonna add it to tree, and then once the tree is fully added, we can then insert some more leaves there, and then we can finally then start with making the new tree, because that's important. But then the big question is, are we gonna do first the leaves or the tree? What would be the smarter idea? I think the leaves is a smarter idea, because therefore you don't need to worry about too much of the tree itself, because otherwise we need to make it upwards, and then we can just go from up to down instead from down to up, which is more difficult of an approach. So the idea here is that we're gonna lock down this guy again, and now we're gonna make sure that this is actually a thing now. So the tree. And with looking, of course, I mean like looking. So we're gonna lock down this, and we're gonna just see like where are the trees and where are not the trees. Well, this is definitely the part that we need. So we're gonna look for it, and we're gonna see like, yes, this is the part that we need, and then we need to look now for where the tree is. So this is a leaf part, this is a leaf part, then this is supposed to be the tree, right? Yeah, there you go. So the tree has this part right here. This is the part that is, I believe, hold on. Oh, wait. This is the tree part. Yeah, I knew it. Called it. So this is the line, and you can see here the lines, right? Disappearing. Yeah, you can see it.
Yes.
All right. So the lines are actually the ones that are designed for creating the effects that we need. So we need to shut down our colors, and then if we now remove the line, boom, it's gone. So what we now need to do is something very strange, because as you can see, we can see straight through everything, which is annoying because, well, you know, you can see this, but we don't want to see this. We actually want to see our drawing instead of the lines that we drew roughly. So what we're going to do now is move that. So this right here needs to be moved. But where does it need to be moved? It needs to be moved below the lines of the wood. Therefore, you know, we can just color it up, and then, you know, we don't need to worry about things. So we should definitely move it there. There you go. And now we can put this back on. And now suddenly, you know, you don't see the lines anymore, right? That is good. So what we need to do is first we're gonna look for this and look where we need to be drawing things. So we're gonna shut this down, because, well, we need to first make sure that we have this. So as I demonstrated earlier, we have different tools to do different things, but with this drawing, we don't want any of these tools. We just want our old-fashioned pencil. So where is the pencil? Well, this is right there. So every single time you see this toolbar coming up, this is the pencil. Then, of course, we want to go for black, because, well, you know, lines are black. Now we need to reduce the size, and there you go. It's now only 3.6 pixels, which means that, you know, the size of the pencil is a little bit tiny. Huh, what are the odds? So now you can see that I drew here, very detailed, I drew the lines, right? And now we need to edit this so that it makes sense. So we want to remove some stuff, so we're gonna remove it right here. We want to remove right here. We don't need to remove all of it, because, well, you know, we still have some lines left, but we just want to remove the things that, you know, doesn't make any sense. So right here, right now, and now you can see that there is an opening. So now we're gonna change the vision a little bit so that we can make lines better, because with this tool you can also turn it around and whee, go around the rosies with it, which makes it very handy dandy if you want to draw something like, you know, detail. So first things first, we want to make sure that this is going to be going upwards. There you go. And now it's suddenly split it, because if we now add this part right here, we can just add the part down there, and then you can see that it is locked in. So this is how you create a tree effect. Of course, we don't have to follow the tree line perfectly, because, you know, it's still a very rough line, and, well, rough lines don't mean anything. So now we have the rough line done, and then we can add also the rough line right here, which is also a thing. So we can go right here, we can add some more rough lines right there. You can see that, you know, we cannot draw on this part because, well, you know, there is grass there. Well, the leaves. So the leaves are on a upper section instead of the lower section. So we don't have to worry too much about making too much of a mistake while editing the tree. Of course, you know, the drawing is still going to be looking very different than before because, well, you know, we still haven't added any of the coloring because, well, you know, the tree is not yet done. So as you can see here, there is some lines here and there, and what we now need to do is move these lines upwards so that, you know, it's all making sense. So we want to remove this and see if there is anything left. No, there is not. And now we need to actually make sure that this tree is working properly. So we're gonna do that by adding this to there. And we have now a tree part here and a tree part there. Now, if we then change back to the place that we want, the way of doing things, as you can see, we can now see that this branch is a little bit too thick. You see that? It's a little bit too thick for my liking. So what I want to do is actually reduce it a little bit. We can do that by just put this there. And then we can remove this whole line right there. And now we're going to zoom in again, which can also be done here. So the whole idea of making this tree is quite easily done, but, you know, you also need to remember that while you're drawing this tree, it creates a kind of effect that is actually quite difficult. I mean, the most important part here is that the tree does look like a tree. I know, right? Difficulty with trees. Also, you can see right now that, you know, this is all the information that you want from the stream on the other screen, and it will tell you like how many viewers, how fast it all goes, and how much time we already are doing things. So now we're already 8 minutes in. So this is 8 minutes already, and we have already added a lot of the tree already. Because, you know, we have added the part that we needed to fix, and then we're gonna add some color to it and create some lines. And not all the lines need to be done. It just needs to have like a couple of lines that are representing the tree so that we can move around with it a little bit by a little bit. So this is the line that I want to go for. It's done. Nothing too fancy, not too special. But we also want to make sure that all these lines are still aligned there and there, you know, and then we want more lines this way. We could add some more like this. There you go, a steep line, and then go a little bit curvy there. So we don't want straight lines. We actually want some curvy lines because curvy lines give more of a bark effect. A bark is the part of the tree which, you know, the tree is surrounded with. If you remove the bark of a tree, the tree dies. Duh. Because it is actually a coating. It's actually a special thing that makes sure that, you know, trees don't rot. It helps survive the harsh weather of rain and cold. It's like a coat, but then for trees. And instead of, you know, making it very fuzzy, it's more very woody and strong. Also very flammable. So if you ever wanted to make a fire, you can do it by that. It's important that you do that. So as you can see, I'm actually, talking to through the mic while explaining things towards you, but I'm trying to keep, my voice as clear as possible, even though, the setup is not that great. I'm talking through a headset. I have not yet had a microphone, so yep, it's still not the best solution. But of course, it's better than nothing. It's better than, it's better than not explaining at all what I'm doing, because that's not the point of these videos. These videos is all about, explaining, trying to talk what happened today, and what I did today, and what I'm going to do today. And what I'm going to do today is actually just draw, because, I have done drawings today already, a lot. I have been already working on one of the drawings that I showed you, the bomb with the car, bursting through some stone. I actually finished 2 of the parts of it, so that's why I was like, yeah, I'm better now. I was sick last week, so that's why. That's why actually the whole damn thing actually went to an end. So now you can see we drew, right?
Yes.
All right. So what do you think we need to do now?
Color it with brown.
Yes, with brown. So this is the brown that we have now. It's a good brown, don't get me wrong. But we need first the base color of brown. Which is the base color? The one that stands out the most, right? This one. So what we're going to do with this brown is very easily the most simple thing. And that's that we're going to do this really quickly. So we're going to do it with the brush. We're going to do it with this tool right here. And we're going to lower the size to 17 so that we can just, we're going to shake it up a little bit. Make it all happen, and you can see like, oh wow, this looks horrible because it's just one line. You see it? The drawing doesn't look nice if you have only one color. This is one color, this is multiple colors. You see the difference?
Yes.
So what do you think would be preferred if you're gonna go for multiple? What would be preferred if you want to go for something like, a bark skin? Would it then be more preferable to have like some lighting and some darker parts inside of the wood? Because it will create this more bark kind of effect, right?
And it gives sort of shadows.
Yes, partially shadows. Because we have not yet done the shadowing. We have only colored. And that's the fun part. Because once you have done the coloring, then the shading comes. And then once the shading comes and you will already have like natural shading, it will amplify. So it will increase the effect on the shading. You get that? All right. Good. So what we're doing here is actually removing the excess parts that we don't need. So as I said before, we want to have like this kind of split off, and we don't want the tree to look a little bit too out of pace or out of shape. So we want to still keep all the remaining things that we have done before, because we're not erasing all of it, we're just erasing the parts that we don't need, and then add parts that we need. So it's not a fully, redraw of the tree, because that would be stupid. Because if you want to do something, it's better to do it only once instead of twice, or 3 times, or 4 times, or 8 times, if you want to have something done correctly. Because if the first time fails, you're trying to look for something to improve. Like for instance, this tree is, the first tree I drew today, and it's probably the first tree I ever drew on the tablet. So this is the first tree I drew on a tablet. Can you believe it? No, you cannot believe that this is the first tree. Well, I'll tell you this, it is actually the first tree I drew. But I already knew how I drew a tree. I already knew the basics of how to draw a tree. I just looked up on the internet like, hey, how do you guys draw trees again? And implement their basics to create a better tree. So I looked at somebody else's work, figured out how to do his technique a little bit, and then figured out on my own how to continue onwards with that idea. For instance, I also did it with the rocks. The rocks have a very nice texture, like for instance right over here, right? Or did I? Yes, there you go. You see these rocks right here? This is how I drew rocks. So the first thing I drew is the texture. So I only draw lines. Then once the lines are done, I actually implemented color. I used 3 colors, and those 3 colors I used to create the effects that I need now. Then I use dark points that I colored in to create the effect that I need for the total amount. And as you can see here, there are some parts left, because this is the bird. This is the part where the bird is. And you can see also here exactly what I mean. You see that? That's the base color, and then the rest is only coloring. The rest is all about shading and texturing. So that's how it actually exists. It's quite fun and quite nice to see. Now that we have done the part that we need to do first, the part that we need to do first, and now we need to add the parts that we need to do now, which is finding the color, which is right here. This is a color. It's a very little bit of color. There you go. I believe this is the one. Now we need to get the part that we need, which is this one. So, we have some parts here that are not making any sense. We have some parts here that makes no sense at all. So we need to erase that. So we're gonna go back to the first one, and then we're gonna erase the parts that we don't need. Now, the main problem with this is that if we want to do this, it won't work because, well, you know, we don't want to erase it all of it. So we're gonna go for this one. What does this do? It's actually just erasing the things that I don't need. So this right here, that's ugly. This part right here needs to be fixed. And then you can see like, well, this part right here needs to be fixed. So now we only need to fix the parts that we had just drew on. And I'm not drawing on the other part, so that's also good. So now we're gonna go back to the part where we need to be. And we're gonna start all the way down. Why? Because we want this ripple effect to be really welcome. So, if we want to draw now, we use the wrong color. So we're gonna pick up the color that we need, which is this color right here. Ooh, wow, very fancy. And you can see that the color actually comes out. You see it? And we're just drawing the lines a little bit. Drawing the lines a little bit there. And you can see that, you know, the more we draw, the more heavily the effect comes to play. Now, this is not the right color, I admit. So what I actually did was actually a very smart move, which is actually right over here. You see this? These little blobs? These blobs are actually designed for me to remember, like, oh well, since that you're anyway doing things like that, I always keep a reserve of coloring. So that's a very smart move to keep things in reserve. As you can see now, hey, it's the same color. Ooh, So yeah, that's how it works. So now we're gonna go back here. And we're now adding the color that we need. So this is the color that we need. Looks like the same color, yes. Stupid. Why did that happen? I don't know. Sometimes it happens that I kite over it. So there you go. And we're gonna add to the other part right here, and you can see that all these lines are getting better and better. You can see the lines getting formed, right? The lines of the tree is getting formed like this, and you can see that it gains more shape. You can see it, right? So what is the problem then here that it makes no sense? What is the problem here? Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. Hold on, I need to get a little blob here, right here, just so that I don't forget the color. I'll pick this color right here and I'll show you. So what is the problem right here? Well, it's the problem that this color right here is there. And now it's gone. And now if we now pick up the color again, that needs to be right here, and then that should work. Oh, it didn't work. It didn't work. Alright. Why is this then not there? Why I used... sorry, man. I didn't know that that would happen. Interesting, by the way. I figured something out that is actually a bug. Lovely. So we're gonna pick up this color then instead. And now we know that we have the right color. Which is a thing. You can get the wrong color sometimes. For instance here. It's not the right color because of the transparency in the tool. I'll teach you later on what transparency in the tool means, because it's very hard to explain on a thing, but on the fly. But it's just, you know, the color that is representing here is not the real color. This color right here, this is the real color. This is not a representation of the color. Because this tool has transparency, which is this thing here, built into it. Which means that it is vaguely the color. Vaguely. But the more you draw of it, the more of the real color becomes. So if you drew a letter like the letter A, for instance, it will represent the letter A vaguely. But the more you draw the letter A, the more better the A comes in the picture. So first you have like looking like an O, and then it looks like an H, and then suddenly it looks like an A. Only then it looks like an A. So that's the transparency explained in letters. I don't know if that makes things anything more simple. But yeah, it's a vaguely representation of the color that we need. And the more we do this, the more, you know, the more it will turn out to be the real color. Of course, most of this is probably not going to be mattering anyway. And you can see that this is all like this. Boom. There you go. We have now connected the tree. Alright, now we need to get this part right here done. So we need to go down, all the way down. And now we need to follow these lines. So we can decide where the lines come and where the lines go. But the lines need to be, the lines represent the roots that oil the bark itself. And if you look closely towards a tree, it actually shows you these bark effects in person. Let's see, we need to go here and then go up and then go up, and then there you go. Looks like I actually drew over here a little bit too much. Oh well, gonna fix that. Yeah, there you go. And the idea of one hour streams of this is actually to practice myself on being faster. You know what? Like, you know, you're doing like running, but instead of running, you're doing drawings, and you need to be the fastest person alive while running, right? So what I'm doing here is actually perfecting myself on getting better at drawing by doing only one hour a day of working on this, but I need to quit after 1 hour. But the more I do this, the more quicker I will get at finding out what I need to do. So errors and kind of things like obstacles that come my way, I will deal faster with it. I will find faster ways to solve a problem. For instance, if I had a problem with the coloring or a problem with the drawing, I would find it out within an hour instead of being like, I don't know the answer. And then 2 hours have been passing by doing absolutely nothing. Instead of, 1 hour and it's already fixed. So it's quicker. And the more quicker you work on it, the better it gets. So now we have done it. we have successfully drew the part. You see? Now there's one thing that still is missing. One thing that is missing from this part is actually a little bit more darker. So, now we have this. We're gonna switch to this one right here. Ooh, very fancy thing. Well, what does this do? It's a transparency tool. You can see it? It's transparency tool. It has transparency and then less transparency. So what this thing does is actually give me a little bit of a idea of like, I want a little bit more like, I want this part to be a little bit more darker. I can give this a little bit more darker effect to it. And this part right here, I can put more darker into it. And there you go. And now things look a little bit more darker. But, as you can see, the tool actually removes a lot of stuff. So what I can do is press this button right here multiple times, and then suddenly everything is turning back to normal. But we still want this effect, because that effect is actually quite good. So how do we do that? Well, we can then say like, well, we want this to be less of an effect, and we want this to be a little bit more of a shading business. So we're gonna just do a little bit of it. So and then I can even put more darker effects to it. And then if I now add this part right here, I can, you see? Suddenly it turns a little bit more darker in the shapes. You can see that there is now some more shading to it, even though, you know, it's just coloring. Cool, right? Now, since that we still need to remove some stuff here that doesn't belong here, we need to still remove some stuff here that doesn't belong here. There you go. We fixed it, and now we're gonna save it. Now we're at 5.7 gig of space already used. That's a lot for painting. So what you want to do now is looking at the top screen. What does it say? How many minutes have we done for just fixing the damn tree? Where do you see it? Come on, you can guess where we are. It has the live. Yeah, there you go. So what does it say, Dan?
28 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yes, and we need to still do 1 hour. Sounds like a lot, right? 1 hour of work. Whew. Well, trust me, it's getting really fast and really done quick. So, since that we need to now do something, what still needs to be done in this kind of tree? Because we have fixed the tree. We have fixed the tree, we have fixed the look of the tree, and we have fixed it so that it looks now much better. As you can see.
Leaves?
Yes, leaves, but which leaves need to be fixed? No, those are already there. I think you mean this one, right? So, if we now take this back on, and we're gonna go now to the part that we need to do, which is the leaves. We're gonna look at the leaves. So, we don't need this one. We don't need that one. We need to fix the leaves. So, we're gonna look at the leaves. Where is the leaves? Well, the leaves are right over here, right? This is the leaves one. This is the leaves part that we need to do. This is the part that needs to, this is the part that was already done, as you can see. But now we also need to fix this part right here. So, where are those leaves? Well, those leaves are right there. And we're gonna put these leaves also here. So what we're gonna do is put this also there. So picking this up, and we're gonna use this as a new system, and we're gonna make this into a group, and we're gonna say, well, these leaves, because these leaves are behind the main leaves, as you can see, these leaves are behind these main leaves. We want them also behind this one as well. So we're gonna connect these with that, but we're gonna keep them separate, so that way, if we ever want to move them around, like, you know, a little bit, so if we want to move this sleeve, if we want to move these leaves, we can just do that, like this. You see? But we don't want that. It's just an option. So what we want to do now is actually create a new set of leaves. But if we add this, then suddenly everything is getting very blurry, as you can see. So what do we need to do? We need to lower this down to the right place. So we want this to be below our leaves, because, well, you know, we want this to be, we don't want these leaves, we don't want this to be interacting with this. We want to see the leaves instead of, you know, this blurry mess of a drawing, because everybody can draw a blurry mess, right? So now we're gonna zoom in again with the side here, and we're gonna go boo-doo-doo-ba-ba-doo-doo. No, wait, we need to do one more thing. We're gonna see 1, 2, 3. We need 3 of these. All right, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're gonna use the bottom one. Bottom one is for color. Middle one is for different kinds of color. So I believe that's the I believe that's the merge tool. Yeah, that's no. The middle one is the so we only need 2 then. All right. So the bottom one is the colors, and the middle one and the top one is actually the drawing itself. And then this one is a filter. A filter is like something to be like, behold, it's gone now. But if I remove it, ooh, it's back again. So if you look at this right now, and I will do the magic trick, behold, it's no longer blurry. And now it's blurry again. So that's what the filter does. It puts a tiny little layer over it that you can modify to your own liking. And why do I do this? It's because if I would not have done it, like if I would have not removed the blur tool, it would have stand out too much. So the eye would catch the whole damn tree instead of the drawing that's going to be in the middle, which is not good. We want to have like a field view. So we want to have like, you want to see the sky, but you also want to see what's behind the mountain, but it needs to be not fully detailed. It needs to be like I'm looking through glasses or through a telescope instead of just be there, right? Because if you can see this, or you can see it over there, it's gonna get way more away. So that's why I like it. Like if I had a mountain, yeah, mountain. There you go, mountain. If I had a mountain, and I would draw some birds over the mountain, and then some clouds, like here, cloud 1, cloud 2, cloud 3, and I want this bird to be in the front view of it, I need to blur down this mountain, and I need to blur a little bit the mountain itself, so that you can see the bird flying over the mountain, instead of the bird being pasted on top of the cloud, which then, you know, suddenly the bird is no more. Explain? You get it? So instead of, you know, having the leaves be on the leaf, on top of the leaf, so that you don't see the leaves anymore. So if I would remove this blur tool of this guy and this guy, so if I would have removed this one and this one, you won't see where the one begins and where the other one ends. That's the main problem. And we don't want that. So anyway, let's get started. So first, we're gonna follow these lines. So we're gonna pick up our old-fashioned tool, this one. And we're gonna look at the 3 leaves right here. Of course, we're gonna remove the tool, because we wanna just see what we need. And you can see how it is drawn, right? So, the tool is like this. We're gonna draw like this, and we need to draw it like very heavily with old-fashioned things like that. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what I'm now drawing is like this shape. So it's like a little tooth, like a raw tooth, with a nose and some eyes, you know, that kind of tooth. These kind of teeth are necessary because they represent the leaves. They're not sharp. They're literally this. They're not sharp, but I don't want them to be too big, otherwise they would represent feathers, which is not what we want. We want them to be representing leaves. So we're gonna just follow these lines of the drawing that we had. So it is these lines right here. And you can already see that, you know, I'm following the line, and the more I do the line, the more I follow the line, the more it gets, the more you can see that, you know, the leaves are getting shaped. So we now know that there is like something over here. It's quite cool. So as you can see right here, there are some parts here as well that does the same, but we don't want this to be there. This is not very good. So we want this, and then we want just, you know, straight lines right there. There you go. That's more better. Hold on. There you go. Awesome. So now we want to draw some middle sections. So we're gonna do this, and right there, and some there. So this represents the leaves that are a little bit upwards. All right. So we now drew the bottom line of it, we draw the midsection of it, and the top section is not visible because we're still there, right? Because these are actually the leaves that are underneath the tree. So if you have like a blanket and you put your hand under it, you can see like the little bit of leaves that are dripping underneath it. That's the idea. So these are the ones that we draw. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna draw a second line. Oh my, a second line. Oh, fancy. So the main idea here is that we're just going to be following that. And the more we do this, the more we finally get the shape of the tree itself. Of course, because we don't want to be boring and we don't want to repeat ourselves too many times with this drawing, this is where the top part is coming in. So this is where these things come in. These two, those things actually create variety in the drawing itself. They will create the variety that needs to be done for to give the drawing more a unique look to it. So right here, I can say like, yeah, I want this to be like this drawn, and then there you go. So here's like a rough part, and then I can just add the lines that I want. So I want to draw these lines right here, and then I can draw them even more downwards, and then I can draw them even more downwards, and you see where it and you see how it ends. So now there is something in a variety in the drawing itself. Of course, we just want to continue, and we want to not, of course, make everything like very bland. So we just need to continue with the drawing. But there is another part right here, so we're going to do that as well. And now you have like a little bit of a variety in your drawing, because not everything is the same. Like for instance here, there is also some variety. So we're going to extend that part right there. And then you have this already. And now if we now follow these lines again, even though, you know, we're just getting started, we can now see that there is variety in the drawing. And if we want to follow up those lines, which we want to do with the drawing itself, we can see that there is now some variety in the drawing in fully contest. Yeah. Words, very difficult. And this will take the most time of all the time, because as you can see right now, how much time have we already spent on getting ready to draw some leaves? So how much time we are ready now at?
Around 11 minutes.
Yes. And how much time has been in total now?
Almost 40 minutes.
Yes. And how much time do we have in one drawing?
Hour?
Around an hour, yes. Which means that this takes a lot of time, right? And that's the main problem. Because, you know, it takes a lot of time, and it means that, you know, people, you know, that like to draw fast and quick and all that stuff, it doesn't work then. Because, you know, if you want to keep on your texture, you need to do it slowly and steadily. Otherwise, it will look awful. Because an ugly drawing is very easy to create, right? You don't need to put a lot of effort into drawing low poly or low quality of a drawing. But if you just put some effort in it, you know, things look very nice. Probably you already have seen it when I showed you how to draw things. And then you saw how terrible it looked when I draw it quickly. And that happens. Because I didn't took the time and effort, it means that the quality of the drawing will also go down. And quality is very important if you want to sell stuff. Allow me to show you the rest of how this works. So you can see already how these leaves are going to be formed. So we already have drawn the half of it, and we're almost at the 50-minute mark, or at the 40-minute mark. So if I now would go to the coloring, that would probably take us again like 20 minutes, and then we're done. Because, you know, then the hour reaches our limit, which is quite funny to see. So this right here needs to be drawn as well in, so we're gonna do that. There you go. Fix that part. And now we have some more variety in it, because we can just dangle around, put some more leaves in there. And this is how you do it. And the more you do this right now, it's quite quickly the most easiest thing to do, because, well, you know, we're filling up the space that needs to be done. We're filling it up with the little teeth that needs to be drawn. And now we can start with the coloring. Well, how do we color? Well, that's a quick question, right? That's a good question. Well, it's quite easy. You just pick up the neutral color that there is. Neutral color is right there. This is the neutral color. Ooh, very fancy. Now we're gonna pick up this thing, and there you go. That's the first whole color. Ooh, magical. Now, the idea here is that we're actually gonna go, you know, remove the parts that we don't need. So this part right here, we don't not want to. This part right here, we don't want to. And once we're done with this part, once we're done with the whole damn, you know, magical drawing of true amazingness, we're just gonna be, you know, putting some more stuff to it. So we have now one color. All right, we have one whole color. That's not a lot. That's actually not a lot at all. But we want to make this more looking better, right? So we're gonna pick up the brush tool that makes green. That makes green. It just takes a long time to make green with this. So we're gonna put it on 75, because then, you know, green gets quicker there. So now what we want to do is actually get some lighter colors in. So we want some lighter colors in this drawing. So where do we want the lighter colors? Always on top? Yeah, probably. We want some lighter colors here and there. And then once we have the lighter colors, we also want some even more lighter colors, because that's how this works. So we want, like, over here, we want some good old-fashioned grass. Now, since that we have lighter colors, we also want some darker colors, because, you know, every cool looking, there you go, forgot to put that on. So every drawing here needs to have some darker colors. Of course, you know, not every part needs some good old-fashioned darker colors, but yeah, we do need some darker colors. And then once we add some darker colors, we also want some neutral colors again, because, you know, we want to compensate with it. And there you go. Color in. And now this is where the magic begins. We want this thing as a whole, we want this to be filtered. We want this to be filtered, so we add a filter, and we add the blur tool to it. So now, you don't see jack shit. You don't see anything. You're looking through a way too much tipsy glass. As you can see, nothing. We don't want that. We don't want nothing to be seen. We want this to be vaguely we want this to be nice and pleasing to the eye so that, you know, it looks like, oh yes, this is the background for the tree. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna switch this tool, this eraser tool, to the soft eraser. The soft eraser is gonna be doing this. Look at that. It erases things, but it softly erases it. And you can see now already that, is that detail I smell? Strange, right? I'm erasing stuff, and suddenly the soft eraser works. So now there is some blurry mess inside of this thing, right? So it doesn't look that nice right now for us, but what we can do now is actually pick up the blur tool, which is this one. And what does this blur tool do? Well, this blur tool does actually exactly what I wanted to do, and that is give the bloom effect that we want with the drawing. So this bloom effect that is right here, spread it nicely around the drawing so that it is getting smooth. So instead of being rough, it's getting smooth as silk. So it's spreading the effect around the whole drawing instead of, you know, being fixed in one position, which is a problem sometimes. So now we have that, and now we can see, like, yeah, that is decent. So if we now add this one as well to it, you can see now, yeah, this is the back. This is the back. These two are back. These are two back background leaves, right? You can see that now, right? Far clearer than before. Because if I would remove this, that's not a background. That's not a background leaf, right? It's harder to decide if it is in the background or not. But if we do this, it feels more like, yeah, the tree is in front of us, and then the leaves are, you know, hanging behind it instead of, you know, being at the same level. So now we have done that, and now the tree is done for now. Woo. So yeah, that's exactly how I did it. Nice, right? So now if we now add the bird back in, the bird looks like this. Alright, so now we have a problem. We have a tiny little thing to decide. We can decide something, so we can decide not to do it. But as you can see, the tree looks now nicely. It looks more pleasing to us to see this tree in action, because now if you look at the tree itself, you can see it now in action. It looks like a tree, right? Looks like, you know, leaves, trees, beginning of a big tree coming upwards. So that's the idea of it. So if we then add a new tree to it, which is in the background, so further away, this one right here, and we add that one to it, that would enhance the effect or the believability that this one is also a tree, right? And if we then add the another tree to the background, this tree will look like, oh my god, this tree is big. Because if this tree is there and this tree is there, then this thing will look more tinier compared to the trees if this one is like relatively big, because this one is actually not in the picture. This one is fully in the picture. This one not. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another tree to it. We're gonna give this a little bit more of a blur. So we're gonna give this actually the same treatment as the tree, as the leaves here, so that this one will be vaguely in the background. Not fully, of course, in the vague background, but just a tiny bit, so that it gives the feeling of that it is actually getting smaller and smaller to the core. So you see it like this. So you have point your hands to a pyramid, and then, you know, you place the object in the middle, and then the middle object will look big. So like right here, it's big, it has like a point of center, and every single point turns towards the moth-hawk, and that's the idea. I think we're gonna call it here because we have done our mission. Our mission was today to draw the leaves and fix the tree, right? Did we do it?
Yes.
All right. So are we then done? Yes. So next week, or next day at least, tomorrow for me then at least, this tree is gonna be drawn. Or well, the leaves are gonna be drawn and then the tree. Why the leaves first and then the tree? It's because then I can implement the idea of where I need to place the branches, so that I don't have to do the same thing as I did with the other tree, which removes a problem, which makes you go faster. So yeah, I hope you'll have enjoyed, and thanks all for watching, and I hope I'll see you all next time. Until then, I wish you all a lovely day, and bye!